Okay, so you're in real estate, but you're kind of stuck with really not knowing what to do or what direction to properly go in. Or maybe you're kind of going with the flow, but the reality is you really haven't picked up that rhythm to your business yet. Well, chances are it's probably because you haven't set goals for yourself yet, or maybe you haven't set the right goals. And I'm not talking about goals in the sense where you're just kind of writing down what you want in a piece of paper and you kind of figure, oh, I'll do that in 5 years. But more specifically, I'm talking about SMART goals and how to properly strategically plan your attack to achieve and complete your goals. Emmanuel here, and in today's video, we're talking about setting SMART goals. Maybe you've heard of the term, maybe you haven't, but stick around. SMART actually stands for an acronym, and we're gonna dive into it right now. So if you're a real estate agent and an entrepreneur and you set some goals for yourself, but you're constantly missing them year over year, well, chances are it's probably because you haven't been setting your goals correctly. So there's this thing called SMART goals. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't, but in today's video, I really wanted to spend some time really breaking down what it means, so hopefully you can start utilizing it in your practice. So if you haven't heard of SMART yet, it actually stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So the big benefit of using this methodology is that it creates tangible numbers that you can use to track and measure. So whenever I talk to real estate agents, I often ask them what their goals are when I'm consulting. And I usually get a very broad answer in return. They're usually in the form of, oh, it's to build a website, or maybe it's to get more exposure online. Well, the reality is, without any quantifiable numbers, just throwing out an idea of what your goal might be really is gonna set you up from failure in the very beginning. You really need to be able to measure what you're trying to do and achieve to know that you're going in the right direction. So I'd like to break down SMART goals a little bit more to help you clearly understand what exactly it is. But before I get into it, make sure you click the like button. You know it helps out the video, the channel, and thank you so much in advance. Again, SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. And so let's talk about the S first for a second, specific. When you set a goal that is specific, you want to try to be as concise as possible. So for example, if your goal is to, I don't know, close 10 deals by the end of the year, then you should really be specific in how you want to achieve that goal. So that could be in the form of making 20 cold calls a day, door knocking on 50 doors, reaching out to 100 people on social media every week. You want to try to define your goal as much as possible. Next, let's talk about the M, which is measurable. And there's a really old saying out there, and it goes something like, whatever can get measured can get improved. You're going to want to identify a specific number that you're going to use against your goal to really quantify its success. This could be a specific number, it could be a percentage, it could be a dollar amount, it just needs to be measurable. A really great example of this could be that if you're trying to get more exposure on social media, maybe what you can do is rephrase it to say, hey, I want to get 1,000 impressions every month, and then use that number as your measurable goal. Now let's move on to A, which stands for achievable. Achievable means something that you can actually do and something that you can actually attain. This has to be something with a high probability factor of completion and something not impossible. Okay, R in SMART stands for relevant. And it really just means that you want to make sure that your personal goals align with your company's goals and vision. The last thing you're going to want to do is create a goal that has absolutely nothing to do with what your main mission and vision and purpose is in life, because at that point, it's just going to become a complete waste of time and irrelevant. If you have a team, you're going to want to understand what the overall goals are for them and make sure that they align with the overall company goals as well. Remember, if it doesn't align with your mission or vision, then it's probably a waste of time. And speaking of time, let's talk about the T in SMART, which means time-based. This is actually the most important part of SMART goals. And this really boils down to creating a time frame to understand how closely accurate you are getting to completing your goals. So let's go back to that social media example. And let's say that you want to have 500,000 impressions by the end of the year. Then it's just a matter of breaking down that 500,000 into trackable monthly goals to see how you're performing month over month to try to get to your goal at the end of the year. So when you're making your SMART goals, you're essentially gonna wanna think in 3 different phases. The first phase is short term, which is essentially weekly or monthly. The second phase is mid, which is maybe quarterly. And of course, the third phase is long term, which is annually. So at the end of the day, your SMART goals are actually, in reality, your growth strategy. So you're gonna always wanna try to be as specific as possible when you're crafting them. Here's a pro tip. Once you've actually identified your SMART goals, you're gonna wanna try to work backwards. And then from there, you'll be able to easily figure out what the steps are to try to get to that goal. Anyways, I hope you guys found this information useful. Maybe you got some clarity in terms of creating your goals. But in any case, if you didn't, make sure you click the like button. You know it helps us out, as well as click that subscribe button and the bell icon so you do get notified for future videos. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.